Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's We Heart Local live stream on some local chicken roulades with Chef Jason Gelrud. I'm so excited for this one. It combines all of my favorite things. I am Carrie. I am City Market's Assistant Outreach and Education Manager. I'm the one who's been sending you all of the emails. So welcome. So great to know that people are logged on, even if I don't see your faces. If you want to, you can post in the Q&A box where you're watching from. That's always kind of a fun community building exercise to hear where people are tuning in from. If you're joining us a little bit late, you can always hit live. It's down by the play pause button. That catches you up to where we are rather than making you start from the very beginning. This is the only time that you'll see me on camera. I'm going to go behind the scenes and I will keep an eye on the question and answer box. I'll go back and I'll put an announcement into that so you can see where that is and how to type into it. I will see all of those and I can pass it along to our instructor for tonight if there's questions, comments on the recipe, anything like that. Chef Jason's very good about answering cooking questions, even if they're not about this recipe tonight. So make sure you save up all your burning cooking questions to ask him. I think without further ado, I'll turn things over to Chef Jason and I will go back and put that announcement in so you can see it. Chef, take it away.
Hi, good night, everyone. How you doing this evening? As Carrie said, we'll be doing a recipe tonight featuring some stuffed chicken roulades and mashed sweet potatoes. We're going to be featuring because it is We Heart Local Month here at City Market, we'll be featuring a lot of local ingredients. We have some spinach, we'll have some local bacon, we have local chicken, which is a farm here, Misty Knoll Chicken. We will be featuring Vermont Creamery goat cheese. We also have local sweet potatoes. Obviously, it's Vermont, so we have maple syrup. So Cabbage Butter, so many local things. So yeah, we'll just get right into it. So chicken roulades, they're just basically pounded chicken breast that is then rolled, roulade, and then we're going to bread them and bake them. When you bread them, you can fry them, you can air fry them. There's numerous ways you can cook them. And like I said, we'll be serving those with nice mashed sweet potato, kind of a sweet and savory thing with the maple syrup, and then a little fried sage for garnish to kind of play against the sweetness. So yeah, we'll get started. So what I want to do first is we're just going to go ahead and put our sweet potatoes in the water and get those cooking, because those are going to take probably about 20 minutes, 25 minutes for them to get going. We have sweet potatoes from Laughing Child Farm in Vermont, and they're already cubed and peeled. So what you want to do is just peel your sweet potatoes and cube them up about this size. So this is about a medium dice. And we're going to put them in to the water, into cold water, put a little salt in the water. You want to put them into cold water and bring the potatoes up with the water. The reason we want to do that is we want to cook the potato evenly, kind of from the inside out, kind of bringing the water and the potato temperature up together. If you put it right into boiling water, what you're going to do is you're going to start cooking the potato from the outside in really quickly. So the outside is going to get really mushy and the inside's not going to be as cooked. So you will have a different texture of your mashed potato. Some will be really mushy and some will not. So put about a tablespoon of salt in the water. We're just going to go ahead and add the sweet potatoes right into the water. And then I'll go ahead and throw these onto the stove and put this on high and get this cranked up and get this boiling. All right, so I got those on. Now we're going to start working on the stuffing for the chicken roulade. So we're going to stuff these. Chicken roulade, you can stuff basically with whatever you want. There's a lot of them that broccoli and cheddar, ham and cheese, which, you know, kind of one of the more famous chicken roulade is chicken cordon bleu. So, you know, with the cheese and ham, and then breaded and fried. So that's kind of what we're going for here. We're doing a different stuffing. We're going to do some spinach, some bacon, and some goat cheese. So we're good. I just have some bacon that we've cooked up. I'm going to crumble this. We'll chop this up and put that into the stuffing. We're going to wilt down some spinach and we'll have some goat cheese too. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of oil in our pan.
Somebody wants to know if you're doing the potatoes with or without a lid.
With or without what?
A lid.
A lid, I'm doing it without a lid. We're just cooking the potatoes. We're just getting them fork tender so we can mash them. If you want to put a lid on it might go a little quicker, but I haven't found that it really makes too much of a speed difference in that respect. So we're going to have our spinach. We got a little bit of olive oil in the pan. We got one nice big fat clove of garlic here, so I won't use any more. If you like garlic, you can use some more. So we're basically we're going to get this chopped up, and we're going to get this into the pan and get it fragrant, and then we'll add our spinach.
So for submitting questions, keep in mind too that you all are hearing this live stream at about a 30-second delay. So if you're like, why haven't they gotten to my question yet? Know that you see it, we see it, I've asked it, and it's coming, I promise.
So when I do garlic, I like to peel it, like peel the clove, get it broken down a little bit. I put one hand over the knife and then just start going back and forth through it to get it minced. Bring it back together. Don't forget the stuff that's going to be stuck to the side of your knife. Just run this through a few times. That's good. So we have that nice and minced. Throw that right into our pan. Okay. Excuse me 1 second. Gotta grab myself a little towel. Okay. So turn this up a little bit. Look at this garlic. And we don't want to really, you don't want to get too much color on this garlic. You don't want to cook it too much. You just want to get it fragrant. So it's only going to take 30 seconds to a minute. You start to burn this garlic, it's going to get a little bit bitter, and that's not a flavor that we want. So we want to just kind of flavor it. I'm starting to really smell the garlic aroma. So when you start to really smell it and getting fragrant, that's about the point you want to go ahead and add your spinach. The spinach is going to stop cooking this pan. So if you do feel like your garlic's a little too hot or cooking a little too much, obviously you can remove your pan off of the heat, add your spinach, it's going to cool it down. We're in a good level right now, so we'll just leave it on here. And you can add this a little bit at a time, as much as it'll take, because obviously if you've ever cooked spinach, it's going to go from here to there. So this will wilt down pretty quickly. And once that happens, we'll remove it, and then we're going to go ahead and squeeze it out. You want to squeeze it out and make sure you get most of the water content out of it. Because if you leave that in when you put it and you stuff your chicken and you start to bake your chicken, all that water is going to come out into your stuffing, into your chicken, and kind of make a watery stuffing, which is not something that you want. And it's going to just kind of steam the chicken too. So it's just, we want to try to remove as much water from the spinach after it's wilted down as possible. And we'll do that by just squeezing it out in a strainer.
If you don't have baby spinach, could you use larger, like adult spinach?
Yeah, you can use regular spinach. Again, you can stuff these with anything. Even if you don't like spinach and you wanted to use broccoli, you wanted to use asparagus, you wanted to, yeah, I mean, you could use anything else that you'd like to use. Anything. So what we're doing here is these are just things that I decided that, you know, they do work well together to stuff chicken with. I've stuffed with many other things. You don't even have to do meat, like I was saying. You know, you wanted to stuff it with dates and goat cheese, like that could work. You know, so pretty much anything that you'd like. Pepperoni, mozzarella and pepperoni. You know, like anything.
Jalapeno popper.
Oh, jalapeno popper, Carrie. Jalapeno popper roulades. I've actually done a like a cream cheese one before. It was like cream cheese and roasted jalapenos, and what else was it? Cream cheese, roasted jalapenos, and I think a little cheddar or something there too. It was kind of recreating like a popper. All right, so this is getting pretty close. You can see that it's cooking down nicely. Happens fairly quickly.
So the other great thing about Chef Jason's cooking is that he usually almost exactly hits the hour mark to show how like quick and easy these dishes are for weeknight dinners. So we'll probably end closer to like 6:30-ish than 7, but we have plenty of time for questions.
Yeah, I'll show you how to plate it up nice. I mean, the goal for these classes that I do is trying to take some comfort food, take something that we all know, we all cook, chicken with veggies or whatever, but elevate it a little bit, maybe something that you wouldn't think of normally, but also something that you could do on a weeknight and feed the family or feed yourselves, feed you know, you and your husband, you and your boyfriend, girlfriend, you and your kids, whatever. Just something that would be quick on a weeknight that you are, again, that's just a little bit something different, maybe a little stepped up than what you would normally do. And most of the things that we do are going to be from scratch, so there's that benefit of it as well. All right, so we're getting really wilted down here, and you can wilt it as much as you want or leave it, you know, a little less cooked if it's something that you like. But what I like to do is wilt it down enough to where the water is going to start to release, because you don't want the water to release in the oven when it's inside the chicken. So we'll wait a little bit longer. The stems are still pretty stiff, and those hold a lot of water. So we'll wait for those to kind of break down. I'm just going to go peek at the water over here with the potatoes.
I didn't bother setting up the second camera tonight because it's not that much fun to stare at a pot of potatoes. So if he goes off screen, he'll be back.
Just looking at the water. So they're not really that close. We're waiting for that to boil. So
is there anything that you can roulade that isn't chicken?
That's not chicken?
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean pork roulades, beef roulades. People do that a lot. You can use like flat meat, and you almost you do like same type of thing where you roll it up, and a lot of people cut them into. I've seen beef pinwheels, so it's kind of a similar thing like that, where you're just kind of rolling the meat and stuffing it. All right, so this is looking pretty good. Let me go ahead and remove this from the heat.
I'm curious to know where people are watching from, if they want to post that, and also if anybody's trying to cook along or is planning to cook this recipe at a later date this week. We don't bill these as cook-alongs just because sometimes we do some prep steps ahead, but sometimes people cook dinner with us. So let us know if you're cooking along or going to cook this later this week.
All right, so what I have here is just a strainer with the spinach over it, a bowl. Spinach and a strainer over a bowl. Sorry, just gonna let that sit for a minute, and we're gonna finish with our chicken. I've already started some of the chicken. What we have here, I have another cutting board with some plastic wrap on it, and we're going to pound out one of the chicken breasts.
Somebody's asking me how I did the bacon. So the bacon is on parchment paper on a baking sheet in the oven at around 400 degrees for 20-ish minutes, and it comes out super crispy and awesome. And then I just laid it out on paper towels as a drain.
It's about that's the way I cook it at home. I find that on a baking sheet at 400 degrees on parchment paper is the best way to cook bacon. You can flip it over halfway through if you like. Sometimes people do that. Sometimes I do that, but that is the best way. All right, so what we have here is just one half of a chicken breast. So we're going to take that out. We're going to lay it on our plastic wrap. This is going to be a little bit loud, but if you have a meat mallet, that's something you can use to pound this out. You can also use just a rolling pin. So what I do is have some plastic wrap. We're going to just double that over, and we'll take the rolling pin, I'm about to beat this, so
Yeah,
we might get muted for a second.
I'm gonna mute us and we'll come back when we're done. Go.
So I wanted to just say, when I'm pounding this, one thing we don't want to do is just to like whack the crap out of this thing and rip the meat. You don't want to rip the meat. One thing you want to do is gently pound it so that you're not tearing it. You want to pound it down, and if you have a meat mallet, one motion is to kind of hit the meat almost at an angle, so you're kind of spreading it out like this, as opposed to going straight down. You want to be spreading it out, and then we're going to pound this to about 1/4 inch thick. So I just wanted to say, you don't want to just start whacking it. You want to really kind of be gently pounding this to the thickness you want. So I'm going to put you back on mute.
All right. And we're back.
So this is pounded out. The tender separates a little bit, and that's fine. If the tender that's connected to the breast, sometimes it'll come off. You can just kind of lay that back in there. So that's all you want. You see that it's thin. It's about 1/4 inch thick. This way we'll be able to stuff it and roll it.
Somebody asked if you wash or rinse your chicken breasts.
No, we don't. No, you don't. That really doesn't do anything. The only thing that really does is give you a better chance of contaminating other things in your sink, in your kitchen, and things like that. I mean, if it's smelly, you may want to give it a rinse just to see if it may be the juice on the outside. But if it smells nice and it's fresh and clean, you can just go ahead and straight use it. Yeah.
To the people in Heinsberg eating chicken wings, amazing. I love it. Appropriate meal for tonight's class.
All right. I'll come back for this. All right, so now we'll just start working on our stuffing. I want to move this board that we pounded the chicken with. All right, so we'll start with our spinach. We have that here. So we're just going to squeeze this out. It's cooled down enough where I can kind of squeeze it. And you can see there's water coming out of that. That's something you don't want in your stuffing in the oven.
This is a great class for if you're having some stress issues.
You can
pound the chicken out, you can squeeze the spinach.
Squeeze the spinach, yeah. So again, not too much, but that's probably good. So it's good. We'll set this to the side. Grab a bowl. We're just going to chop up this spinach. Give it a nice rough chop. You have your garlic in here and your spinach. Go and throw that in your bowl. Okay. We're going to take our bacon here. And we're just going to crumble this bacon up a little bit. Okay. And we have our Chev. Go ahead and open this up.
Chev is goat cheese, just for anybody that doesn't.
Sorry, Chev is goat cheese.
Got a lovely.
This is from Vermont Creamery.
Yeah.
Really good. If most people I'm sure have had goat cheese. It's strong, it's tangy, creamy. It's kind of like a really tangy cream cheese, I would say, something like that if you've never had it. But it's excellent. Okay.
They do a really lovely honey chev that if you have with like dried apricots and crackers, it's amazing on a cheese board.
Honey chev, they do an herb chev that's really nice, and a couple other ones, yeah. Okay, so we have our chicken ready to go. I'm gonna go grab that. Okay, so we have 4 that we did tonight. We've already pounded a few out. We have the one that we pounded out together here. So all we're gonna do, we'll take all of these guys, get them ready to stuff. Just gonna take a little bit of the spinach. Kind of on the first, we're gonna roll this way. So I'm on like the first third of the chicken, and I'm gonna roll that way.
I'm gonna zoom in on your hand so that people can see that a little better. There
Yeah.
you go. Oh, somebody asked blue cheese instead of goat cheese.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Literally, pretty much anything you want to stuff it with.
Anything that you think would taste good with chicken.
Yeah.
Stick it in a chicken.
Mushrooms and onion, fajita stuff, like anything. Okay, so then we have our spinach in here. We're gonna take a little bit of this bacon.
Should you always pre-cook whatever it is that you're like? It's not going to ever cook.
Depends, but it won't cook like inside of the chicken,
Right.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
like
the bacon, veggies, generally you want to at least wilt them down, blanch them, do something to get the veggies going. And then just how much cheese you think looks good. I know the recipe may say 6 ounces. That may be a little much depending on the type of cheese. So whatever looks good to you.
Somebody asks, is this meant to serve 4 or 8? Like, are people getting a whole chicken breast, or are they getting half?
Depends on how much people like to eat. Depends on the size of the chicken breast, because sometimes they're bigger than others. Again, it's kind of looking at it. This would probably serve 6-ish, I would say. Maybe 4 if they're big eaters. Maybe 8 if you got small kids. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I know that's not the most definitive answer, but it is kind of like based on the size of the chickens. But the recipe is generally for 4, because it's 4 chicken breasts. Now, if you get more than 1 meal out of that, that's a bonus, I guess. Okay, so now that these are stuffed, we're gonna just take a little bit of seasoning, just a little bit of salt and pepper. It's here. And we have them on on individual plastic wrap, because we're gonna roll them up. We're gonna roll them and tuck them in as you do it. The tender fell out of that one.
Escape.
Okay. Then we stick it inside of this plastic wrap. You want to roll that up too. Kind of take the ends and spin them and kind of really get it tight. And then you go ahead and put this in the fridge for 20 to 30 minutes. We're not going to do it that long tonight. And this will help bring all your flavors together and help keep it in the shape that you want.
Yeah, it helps kind of keep it even so you don't have like a skinny end, right? It's going to cook
Yeah,
a lot
exactly.
faster. So yeah, watch closely. This is the master at work. I'll zoom in a little bit more so you can see the rolling technique. There we go.
So we'll roll this guy. And we'll take the plastic again. And when you do the plastic, you want to do them opposite directions. Once going this way, it'll get it tighter. So there's that. There's two.
Anybody have any questions at this stage? Now's the perfect chance to work on typing those in so we can see them.
And then, you know, once we bread these up and bake them and then cut them, when you cut them open, they look really cool. And the last one here. All right. There we go. Any questions so far about this process?
None coming in yet.
Okay.
I'll keep my eye on the Q&A
Yeah, it's
box.
pretty straightforward. Again, we're just kind of shaping these and stuffing them, and then while you put these in the fridge, again, they'll come together, set up nicely, and the flavors will come together. So I'm gonna throw these in the fridge for a little bit.
So while you're doing that, somebody wants to know, can you keep them in the fridge or freeze for later?
Yeah, oh yeah. Definitely.
You'd freeze them raw
You
rather
can
than
freeze them raw, and so you can bread them and then freeze them. You could freeze them like this as well, and then bread them later after you thaw them out. You want to let them sit out for a while so they can thaw out, and then you could bread them and bake them. But if you bread them and then freeze them, that's fine too. Yeah.
Somebody asked, we're trying to avoid plastic wrap. Would parchment paper be okay?
Yeah. Parchment paper or wax paper might be a little better for that, just because it might hold up a little better. Parchment paper should be fine. Yeah. This, the wrapping in the paper and putting in the fridge, it definitely does help. It's not 100% necessary. You could let them just probably sit and then, you know, bread them that way as long as they held together. This just really helps them hold together, and it does help the flavors come together. So that's why I like to do it. Okay, I'm gonna go check on the potatoes because we have a nice boil going over there. So give me 1 second.
Now I'm just trying to imagine other great combos. The fajita thing sounds good. Like peppers and onions and, and cheddar in them, and then like fajita seasoning in the breading.
Something like a fajita roulade. You could do
Yeah.
that, you know. Peppers, onions, a little cilantro. Yeah.
Well, not for me.
Well, for some people that don't think it tastes like soup.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna save a little bit of this bacon for to garnish later. Okay, so we're just gonna set this to the side. Okay, so next thing, we're gonna just set up our little bit of a dredging station here. So we have 2 eggs. All right, so for the eggs, we're gonna just crack these eggs. Have just a little baking dish. You could use a bowl, a plate, whatever you want to use. We'll take the 2 eggs, put a little bit of water in this, like a tablespoon or 2. We'll put a little bit of salt and pepper just to season it. We'll beat these guys just to create a little bit of an egg wash here. Okay. So there's our little wash. And this one, we're going to go ahead and put our panko. So we have some panko breadcrumbs. Panko breadcrumbs are Japanese breadcrumbs. You could use regular breadcrumbs if that's what you have. Panko are a little crispier, a little coarser. I think they just make a nicer breading on the outside. So I usually tend to use panko. You could use regular breadcrumbs if you want. If you're trying to avoid carbs and stuff, you could use almond flour. You know, you could use whatever you wanted to bread them, but I like panko. So we'll put those in our baking dish here. Go ahead and put a little salt and pepper in those, just because they're not seasoned. That. Okay. All right, so that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get these ready to go into the oven. It has not been 25 minutes or whatever in the fridge. So I'm going to just show you, you don't have to wait 20 or 25 minutes, but it is better if you do.
We want to make sure we get things done in class time and you're not staring at us sitting around for 20 minutes.
All right. But even just doing this for a few minutes does really bring them together. The muscle tends to relax around the stuffing. So just doing what I just did for 5 minutes is definitely going to help us. I'm going to grab a pair of gloves.
Do you want the hot plate and that pan out of your way so you have more space?
I was going to do the sage.
Ah, yes. Okay.
I'm going to turn off the water here. Those potatoes, the sweet potatoes, are pretty much almost done. We can let them sit in the water and just finish up with the oven off. Okay. Give this a little quick mix again. All right. Now, take the first one, just unwrap it. Hopefully it holds together on me. Yeah, it looks nice. So you see it does hold together. So we're just going to go ahead and get your egg wash on this. Just toss it in your panko. There you go. Number one, roulade. If you want more breading, go back, do it again. You can get thicker breading on it. This for me is enough. It's going to add nice texture on the outside of the chicken. And that's what I'm looking for. Just some extra crunch, some extra texture. So now we'll go ahead and release all of these from the plastic carefully, not to unwrap them when we're unwrapping them. Okay, so egg wash on this. Okay, so just coat these guys with the panko.
Somebody asked, don't you normally do flour before you do egg?
You can. That will help the panko stick, but that's more when you're going to fry, because you want to build up the layers. We're going to bake. You don't have to. Sometimes you do. This recipe, actually, this one works a little better because you have the egg wash, and the panko is going to create a nice crust. Okay. So those are done. We're going to throw these right into the oven. I got the oven at 375. These are going to go in for about 25 minutes. Okay. Nice. So those guys are looking really good.
I love that you gave the gluten-free option because it's so crazy to think about the only thing making this not gluten-free is the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
You could just do either gluten-free breadcrumbs or almond flour or.
Absolutely.
It's very
And if you want it to be you don't want to use dairy egg, you're someone's allergic to egg, you can use heavy cream. If you want it to be dairy free, you could just use the egg. So all right, so now we're going to start working on our mashed potatoes while those are baking. Just going to drain them real quick.
I think you're answering everybody's questions. No one has any of them for you.
No one's got anything to say.
That's good though. It means people are getting it. I love sweet potatoes, so any new sweet potato recipe is amazing.
Smell the sweet potatoes already. All right, so we drain our sweet potatoes. And we're just going to return them back to the same pot that we boiled them in. Okay, so these are, show you here, pretty tender. So I can pretty much mash them out with a spoon. So that's what you're looking for, that nice tender, mashable texture. So we got 3 tablespoons of butter.
Cabot, yeah.
This is Cabbage Butter, local Cabbage Butter. They make great cheeses too. All right, so throw the butter right in. Okay, we're gonna add some half and half.
I think the only things that aren't local in this one are the olive oil, salt and pepper,
The salt and pepper. And the panko, that's right. Okay, so we have some cream. Let's say a 1/4 cup, but we're just gonna kind of see what a little bit does. And with maple syrup, and then you can always add more, you know, it's hard to take it out of there. You can always add more. With some nice maple syrup. And we're just gonna do also a little drizzle of maple. Throw a little salt in here. A touch of pepper. And we're going to mash this around. So you can do it by hand if you have a hand masher. You can do an immersion blender. That's what I'm going to do right now. I like to have some texture on the mashed potato. So I'm not going to like crazy mash it. If you really like a smooth mashed potato, you could throw it into a food processor. If you have a potato ricer, you could rice it through there. That'll be the smoothest texture. That'll be like restaurant quality, you know, smooth mashed potatoes. Or you could do kind of this move where I'm just going to mash them up a little bit.
Dumbest design for a stick blender.
You have to hold this button down while you're doing it, so. I want to put a little bit more cream in here.
And this is half and half from Stratford, which is a local
Mm-hmm.
creamery around here that's just fantastic. If you ever had a
They
chance
make
to try it.
probably one of my favorite ice creams. They make an ice cream that's Guernsey sweet cream ice cream.
Mhm.
So good. It's just sweet cream ice cream.
Yeah, it's not vanilla. It's
Not
sweet
vanilla,
cream.
it's sweet cream. So it's basically cream that's sweet and it's ice cream. It's just sweet ice cream. It's so good. You can mix other stuff into it. Really nice. You can make like your own homemade ice cream sandwiches out of them. That's a really good move. Okay. So at this point, I can take off the immersion blender. You can see that it is basically mashed up. If you want to do a little more, you can just kind of cream it by hand, get it to the consistency you want. And then obviously you have to taste them, unfortunately, at some point. So I guess that'll be what I'll have to do now. Some of these cubes are still in here, so you can just kind of mash it against the wall of the pan. Immersion blender is not the best tool for the mashed potatoes, but it does do, it starts it well, and then you can kind of finish it by doing it this way. So
Rustic, right? It's got
Mhm.
chunks.
that's good. That's very good. Okay, so that's ready to go. I'm going to set these to the side. Now we're going to go ahead and fry up our sage for our garnish of our mashed potatoes. So the sage, I mean, sage has a great flavor. It goes really well with sweet potato. It goes really well with those kind of wintry flavors. But when you fry it, it takes a little bit of the freshness out of it, the pungency out of the sage, and then we just kind of crumble it on top. And it's nice and dark green, and it just makes things kind of pop against the orange. So it's kind of it'll be a little bit of flavor, but also for the look. All right. So I just got some sage leaves here. So you just take some of these big leaves off of the stem. If you don't like sage, you don't have to do this. Thyme could work as well. Thyme would be another good herb that would pair well with these flavors. But sage to me is more warming and wintry, so I usually go with the sage. Right. Now picking off some of these bigger ones, and that's probably good. Anybody ever done fried sage or garnished anything with fried sage at all? It's delicious. No?
No one said anything yet.
All you do is get this pan hot with a little bit of olive oil. And I'm using some extra virgin, so I don't want to get this too hot. Because I don't want to smoke this olive oil. But just enough to kind of crisp up these sage leaves. Right. I have a timer on the chicken right now.
How much time would you like on it?
I'm gonna just check it and spin it. You can put them in at like 5 after, so it should be done about 6:30.
Like 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 or 15 minutes probably. All right, so we're just letting this get hot. And we've reserved our bacon for the other garnish for the chicken. I like to also clean as I go and try to keep things straight. I also always usually have like a little compost or, trash bowl with me when I'm cooking. I just can keep things straight as I go. One thing I didn't mention to you guys before we started But something I just like to remind everyone when you're cooking a recipe, before you really get into a recipe, you should read through the whole thing first and try to see what you're getting into. Obviously, we know what we're getting into today because we're teaching the class, but if you're going to cook a recipe, I would definitely suggest reading the whole thing through. Sometimes there's steps that you can do beforehand, like pounding the chicken or cooking something. A lot of times they'll say you should cut something a certain way and it's not cut up yet, but you get to that step and you're like, oh, I have to go back and cut it up. So I have to stop cooking this to get that done. So just make sure you're ready to go, getting everything in order, and making sure you have all your ingredients and everything, all your steps ready to go, and you've kind of understand what the steps are going to be, and that way you don't get caught off guard. So I always just like to remind people that, because sometimes you start cooking and you're like, oh, this is great, and then you're like, oh no, I forgot to do that. So oil's not quite hot enough. All right. Did we find out where people are watching from this evening?
There was someone in Heinsberg. There was
Heinsberg.
someone in Massachusetts.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've had people from like Australia and New Zealand and, you know,
All
crazy
over.
places. So
Yeah.
Iceland.
Yeah, we found out that most of the people are joining our classes from Eventbrite because it's publishing like food and drink lists and
Yeah.
popping up on people who aren't necessarily in the Burlington area, which is cool. We had Peru once. That was
Oh
fun.
yeah, we did. All right, still waiting. There we go. Get a little sizzle. All right, so you're just gonna kind of lay these sage leaves flat in your pan.
Long Island, where it's raining. It's raining here too.
Starting to rain here too, man. Just when we were coming into the class, it was starting to come down.
Oh yeah, there's that nice quiet little sizzle.
Yeah.
Nice.
A gentle sizzle, and these will crisp up. It'll take a minute or two to crisp up, depending on how high your oil is.
Snowy Minnesota.
Ooh.
Go. New Jersey. Hi, welcome from my original neck of the woods, from Delaware. For the potatoes, salted or unsalted butter?
Unsalted butter. I usually use unsalted butter in general. You can always add salt to things, so that's why I always use unsalted. Yeah, I mean, when you're cooking, it's not as important. Baking, you definitely usually want to use unsalted because that will definitely change the salt level and the flavor of whatever you're baking. Cooking, you're usually going to add salt to taste or at your level. So generally, the amount of salt in your butter is not going to mess up that too much. But I always figure, why not just add it yourself?
Someone from Burlington, welcome.
Burlington, Vermont.
Paper towels to drain those on? Do you want me to grab?
Yeah, I have a paper towel or two. So once these kind of feel like they're fried up and getting crispy, you don't want to get them too brown. You're going to put them on a paper towel, and then we're going to let these drain and cool a little bit, and they'll definitely stiffen up a little more.
Oh, I might need to change the battery in your mic. We'll take a quick pause while those are sizzling.
Okay. And I think we're back. Yeah. And we're back. Okay. So I'm just going to take these off out of the oil onto some paper towels to drain and cool. Okay. Turn that off. Now we'll move this out of the way a little bit. There we go. Slide that out of the way. Let these sage leaves cool a little bit. Right.
Just died again, so I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
mine. I'll take a look at yours too.
Do this, I guess, right?
Yeah, screw it. Sorry, folks, just doing a quick mic.
All right. Sorry about that. I had to switch mics. Technical difficulties this evening. All right. We good?
You're good.
All right.
Keep going.
All right, great. So now we're going to go ahead and start plating while the other stuff is finishing. We still got a few minutes actually on the chicken, so I want to give those about 5 minutes. So if anybody has any questions or anything that we want to ask me about while we're waiting for those last the chicken to finish up, this is a good time. Anything? Anybody have any questions? No? All right, I'm going to go give a peek at the chicken real quick.
All right, sorry about that, folks. Should be able to hear both of us now. Just had to do a quick battery change.
All right. So let's have a few more minutes. Unfortunately, they're not quite there. But we can. I want to show you a plating technique with some of this stuff.
Someone says, any recommendations for wine with this delicious dinner? Any wine pairings?
Wine with this would be a nice, like something, a good dryish white wine would be nice. Something like a Albarino or a Pinot Grigio would be really nice. A rosé would go nice with this meal too. Also, any kind of light red would be nice. So this is a meal that would take anything, like a nice Pinot Noir or a Valpolicella, something like that.
And
Okay.
to the person that went into the chat box and then can't see, you should be able to close back out of the Q&A box to get back to the video. And if not, you can always close out the whole thing and log back in to see. I'm sorry that you're having some tech issues, but they're watching from Missouri.
Oh.
Would you serve with any other vegetable?
Sure, yeah. This is just, you know, I'm doing a couple things. We didn't do the full meal tonight. We usually do like 2 different things for a meal. But yeah, you could do a nice fresh salad with this. You could do some asparagus. You could do a nice, any kind of green vegetable. Yeah, another vegetable to round it out would be great. You know, you got your chicken and the starch. But, you know, remember the chicken is stuffed with veggies too. So you have your spinach in there. If you didn't have the bacon and you wanted to just do exclusive veggies, that might be something that would work for you. All right, so sometimes it's fun to play around and plate these up nicely. So as opposed to just slopping it on the plate sometimes, you can make like these pernels with mashed potatoes, which is like a 3-sided oval if these are thick enough to do it. We'll see. Take 2 spoons like that. Do like 3 of them on the plate. And then we'll slice our chicken up and place it next to it, and it'll be a nice little presentation.
Is this like a culinary school thing? Did you learn how to?
Yeah, the pernels.
They teach you how to do this?
It's pretty set. They usually like with ice cream, sometimes potatoes or things like that. It works. A lot of times you'll see it with like sorbets, you know.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to actually slide the plate over a little bit when you're done, because right now it's
no, it doesn't look great yet.
Yeah, you're like, I'm hiding
it. All right, so we have our mashed potatoes kind of going there with our sage garnish, and then we'll layer our chicken out, and it'll look nice.
Yeah, so we're gonna wait for the chicken a little bit longer.
Almost be done. I'm actually gonna check it.
Yeah. So let's use this. Like I said, look at him go. He's 5 minutes away from sticking with the exact hour, like always. It's a perfect time to submit any questions you have, and they don't necessarily have to be about these recipes. They can be about anything cooking related, any other meal ideas.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about cooking. We'll talk about your favorite things, whatever. Any questions you might have.
Picking his brain.
Excuse me.
Ow. You all right?
Sorry. The rack kind of slid a little bit, but we're okay. We're good.
Yeah, so somebody's asking kind of what I was going to ask. How do you know when it's done? Other than cutting into one, is there like a certain internal temperature that you want? Or
Yeah, we want to get them to about 165 degrees. You want the chicken to be about 165. So, yeah, that's what you want.
So 165 if you have a thermometer, or just cutting into it and making sure that all the juices are running clear.
Those are probably like 3 minutes away.
That's exactly how much you have left on your timer. So
5 minutes, maybe 5. But we're close.
We're close.
So yeah, with the chev, you know, you could put a little bit of that on the sweet potato too. That goes really well. And then you kind of round out your meal with chev on inside and outside.
Somebody asked, what about air fryer? Air fryer versus oven, time and temp in that.
Yeah, I mentioned that before. You could actually deep fry these like in oil, or you could air fry them. An air fryer probably would take a little bit less time. It's only going to take probably about 15 to 20 minutes as opposed to 20 to 25 minutes. And I would do it at about 400, 375 to 400.
Great. Oh, somebody's asking, how about bread recommendations?
Bread?
Yeah. Like with this meal or like recipes? You wanna clarify? With this meal, all the bread.
All the bread. Well, we got breaded. The chicken's breaded with panko. So if you want more bread, I mean, this is a good meal that can be served with any kind of like dinner roll, a baguette. Something crusty, like a crusty, chewy bread would be good. Some sort of rustic Italian bread or rustic like country French bread would be nice.
Focaccia.
Focaccia would be nice too.
We've asked all the questions in the chat so far.
Okay. Well, we're really close, guys. Sorry that we're hanging out here.
That's it. You're fired. You're going to go a minute or two over your... No, just kidding.
Trying. But yeah, it was nice because a meal like this, being able to use all of those local ingredients basically in every single step of this dish is fun. Trying to eat local is what, I mean, I like to try to do that, trying to source things as local as possible. Yeah, it's just something that I think people should try to do. Get the relationship with your food, I feel, is important. You know, trying to cook things from scratch. You know, recreating your favorite recipes. It's just fun to me, and I think you know, using the local stuff just takes it to another level. It definitely puts you more in touch with your food. You feel closer. I feel closer to it, like when I use something local as opposed to, I don't know, some brand name from somewhere. I'm just like, oh, I went and I know where this came from, and I know that I've been to that town, and you know, so might sound a little cliche or whatever at these times, but I do believe that, and yeah, so I like to try to cook like that. And so I'm glad it's local month because we've been doing a lot of that.
Yeah, we always like doing February as We Heart Local month here at the co-op because it kind of feels like that last month of slogging through before maybe the first early spring things come out. So it's like, how do we eat local in the coldest, dreariest, darkest part of winter? And there's still so many ways, like this class shows, that you can eat local in Vermont.
Definitely a little harder this time of year, but it can be done, you know, especially with the local meat and you know, we are fortunate in Vermont where, you know, we do have so many good farms and, you know, meat farms, cheese farms, vegetable farms that are very close and do get stocked at many of the local markets. So we are lucky in that respect.
Yeah, and that was your 3-minute timer to just beep.
Let's check it. We'll see.
I know people are watching from elsewhere other than Vermont, so hopefully you have some local farm options in your area as well to help support local. So we're over at the stove checking the chicken again. And somebody asked, those chicken breasts looked enormous. Do you have a preferred weight of chicken breast to use, or do you ever just remove the tender so it's easier to roll?
You can remove the tender. It would be a little easier to roll. A lot of times chicken breasts are pretty big nowadays.
Yeah.
These are local chicken breasts from Misty Knoll. So some were a little bigger than others, but also when you pound them out, you know, they're gonna flatten out and expand like that. So here's our roulade, our finished roulades. So here's one.
How nicely that held together.
Excuse me. Okay. So yeah, once you bake it, it does hold together nicely. Now, as I slice this, hopefully it does what we want it to do. So you see how that's
nice.
Yeah. This one's not completely done on that one. I'm sorry. But that's okay. This one was done.
Do you want a different knife?
That's okay. We're just going to plate this one. So you see how this is in there like that, and then you just kind of plate it. Just like that.
Beautiful. Somebody asked
a little more bacon on top for your garnish.
Somebody asked, do they need resting time?
You could let them rest for a little bit. I would probably let them rest for 5 or so minutes before you cut into them, just to let everything kind of distribute together. Yeah, definitely.
Great. Well, it looks delicious. It smells amazing in this kitchen. I wish everybody could smell it through your screens. I'm going to leave the chat open for another minute or two, just again, because of that delay, in case people are frantically typing their questions. We'll put the other ones back in the oven for another minute or two. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate everybody tuning in and making these classes feel like a community, even when we can't all cook and eat together. I'll send a survey out tomorrow. We did record this class. It will be posted at a later date on our website. And would love to know people's thoughts on the class. If you make the recipes, send us photos. We love seeing people actually go and take these classes out to their kitchens and make these recipes. So send me, you have my email, send me pictures and I will pass them on to Chef Jason. And I don't see any other questions coming through, so I'll just stop blabbing. Someone just saying, thank you so much, looks delicious. Big thank you to Chef Jason for his time tonight.
Oh, thank you guys very much. Appreciate everyone joining us. I hope you do try to make the recipe. You know, it's not super hard and it's really nice and good. Yeah. Good winter going into spring meal.
Amazing. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great night.